Well, Harper got back in with the majority. And it's not a dream, it's not an illusion, it's reality. I've needed more than one drink. Believe me. But it is what it is. People were saying, some Harper supporters in my comments a few days ago, that Harper will get in with the majority government. And we're going to come back here and laugh at you for saying there's no way he could. So congratulations, you were right. You knew something that I didn't know. Was it that they were just relying on those particular polls that showed Harper was going to get a majority? Or did they have some inside information? What I find interesting was that the majority of the Canadian public voted against Stephen Harper. But he got in enough writings, he snuck in enough writings that he got a majority government. Now, I'm not very good with math. If someone is, I'd really appreciate seeing what are the odds on that, really? A minority of votes and a majority of seats. What are the odds on that? The only consolation is that most people did vote against him. I just find it a bit odd. Do you think it was election fraud? Or do you think 1/3 of the Canadian public really don't give a fuck about any of these scandals? They prove that Harper and his supporters are a bunch of criminals at all. At any rate, we're going to be stuck with the Harper majority the next 4 years, probably, unless something happens. It's possible the Conservative Party may decide to get rid of Stephen Harper. They can do that. That's the only way we'll get rid of him, is if the Conservatives themselves want to get rid of Stephen Harper. Thing is, in my videos, I stick with facts, except for this video where, I'm explaining some of my thoughts or feelings on what's happened here. When I do, I have some videos where I'm talking about philosophy and it's just thoughts. But then if I'm reporting something, I make sure I know what I'm talking about. I support everything I say with credible links. And then if I'm wrong, it's not my fault. I'm only as good as the sources, that I have. But I use mainstream sources like the CBC, the Globe and Mail, CTV, whatever. I use credible links to support the things I talk about. I'm not mudslinging, I'm not exaggerating, I'm making things up. I'm talking what I can support, you see. I don't think I have to connect the dots and be technically a conspiracy theorist. I think there's enough of people like that on YouTube, and they do some good and they do some bad, but they do their thing. I'd rather stick with what I can back behind. I assume that most people watch my videos, I really do assume most people watch my videos are intelligent enough to read between the lines and to see what's taking shape in our country with the Harper government. It's not going to be good. He's going to take us into every war that the Americans go into. Every opportunity for an oil grab, for feeding the military-industrial complex. Harper will do everything he can to support his corporate buddies. Harper is, in his own words, a Canadian Republican. This is the John Wayne philosophy of every man for himself. How does that help us with a collapsing economy? Unless you can go out in your backyard and dig for gold, you're kind of fucked. For people who are not lucky enough to have jobs or have connections where they can get jobs, they're really screwed. It depends perhaps on where you live, mind you. But things are pretty bad. Things are going to get better, then why does Harper want to build all those prisons? There are some crime issues in Toronto and in Vancouver, and okay, That might explain that to an extent. I'm not against every single thing that Harper wants to do all the time. I'm against the way that he runs this country with an iron fist, and I'm against free trade. I am for abolishing free trade and getting a government that works for the people and that prints money so that the government controls the currency of money and thus controls the economy and not the big bankers who don't give a fuck about the people. We need to care about government and take back our government, and the government needs to print the money, and we cannot allow foreign businessmen to come in here and buy up our companies. The only argument I've heard against free trade is that big corporations will leave Canada. Good. Let them go. Fuck them. We don't need them. That kind of mentality of just sucking the blood out of everyone, we don't need that. We have a great country. We have a great, believe it or not, we really can have a great economy. We can print our own money. We have the resources. We can trade. There's nothing to worry about. There's no need for us to be in an economic crisis. None. No need at all. We should all be living fat off the hog. I'm not saying that we should be, really. We should be learning to live with nature. What I'm saying is that we should not be in the position that we're in. Things should not be like they are. The game is rigged. Corporate interests rule over you and me. That's what Stephen Harper's all about. Unless you're rich, if you vote for the Conservatives, because of favors for favors, or you get a gift in some cases for voting for a certain way, well, guess what? You're fucking over not only everyone around you, in the long run, yourself and your children. When you want to retire in your golden years, you're not going to recognize the country you're living in. Not unless people who actually do give a fuck do something about it to change things. And what this means is we're all going to have to get a lot more active than we have been. We're going to have to try to educate more people on a lot more important issues. Again, the silver lining here is that most people did vote against Stephen Harper, but 1/3, if you trust these election results, voted for him. Enough, strangely, for him to get in with the majority government. Again, I'd really like to know the odds on that. Harper's whole career has been very strange. It's as if the red carpet was rolled out for him, and he's just walked along. Hardly anyone who could really stand up to him would. He's had it easy to get to where he is. The writer of Harperland, I forget his name, referred to it as if it's the will of God that Harper get to where he is. Is it the will of God or the devil? Or is it something a little bit more down to earth than that? Meaning a little bit more sensical. Not that I don't believe in God exactly. I call it the light. I don't presume to know what it is. But I do believe in things like fate. I've had experiences that prove to me that there's such a thing. But with Harper, I don't know. When you look at the conservative, the globalist interests that he serves, the kinds of criminals that he consorts with, frankly, I wonder if it's just by fate that he's had it so easy, that again and again when he's run for a leader of a political party that no one who really could seriously stand against him would. And now he just squeaks in with all these writings to get a majority government. The will of God? Is it? The devil? Or is there a rational, down-to-earth explanation for it? Don't tell me it's chance. Don't tell me it's chance. I'd like to know the chances of it. So, what can I say? I accept it. It is what it is. 4 years, likely, of a Harper majority government. The end of Canada as we know it, and by the end of those 4 years, perhaps the end of our sovereignty. We're going to have to fight a lot harder. We're going to have to care a little bit more than we have if we're going to do anything to protect the country that we have. Peace.